2 nights before the mystery happens, they all get absolutely wasted on this island.
Nice.
While playing pool,
awesome.
I think.
See, but now you got me attracted to the idea of them drunkenly solving mysteries, and there's like a very famous series called Drunk History where people like recall history while drunk, and I want that, but I want people trying to solve like just like board game like textbook mysteries while they're super wasted.
That could be a fun series.
That would be really funny. I would love that. Hello there, everybody. Welcome to episode 116 of the Annie Chat Box, where 5 friends snuggle up in a teeny tiny space to talk about all things anime. My name is Cammie, and I am your host on this fine weekend that we are recording, and I am here with the one and only Jonathan Joestar.
Hello, it's just the 2 of us today.
Yes, we've done this before. If you listen back last time, we got to talk about werewolves. And today we'll also be talking about something within the fuzzy variety, interestingly enough. This is just a pattern we have now, John.
We like the fluffy things.
We do like the fluffy things. We definitely do. But before we do discuss some fluffy things, I have a quick mention for all of you listeners regarding some changes that are made to our schedule. Due to certain personal schedule conflicts, we've moved certain shows around, and we won't be reviewing series in a linear order by the show air date. So, for example, we have a couple of stragglers from maybe 1 or 2 seasons ago that we're not going to get to immediately in favor of some more recent shows, mostly due to, again, scheduling conflicts and preferences and availability. So we do hope you'll understand, and hopefully there'll be some fun surprises of us reviewing very recent shows, like this show we'll be reviewing today, which finished up this week. Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy enough. Yes. But before we get into our review, we do have a brief main topic that we'll be talking about today, and I like to call it genres that we want back in anime. Because I was thinking about just the fact that if you are an avid anime watcher, you'll realize that there are certain genres or topics that are frequently covered in anime every season. Right now, the big old elephant in the room is isekai as a genre. Would you, you'd agree? Okay,
Yep.
yeah. I actually don't know if you encountered this as well, but when I was looking at shows coming up for the summer, I think there's like 4 isekai shows.
Yeah, I think so. Something like that.
Yeah, or like, I think they're all like typically isekai. Some of them are like game worlds, some of them are fantasy worlds, and some of them are about, protecting your fantasy daughter that you found. Some of them are like survival based, but still, the big boom right now is people landing in crazy other worlds and having to adjust. And it's been that way for a good amount of years. Thanks, Sword Art Online.
Did not invent the genre, but they definitely popularized it.
Definitely, and gave it, I think, a certain structure where it is often a male protagonist. Because we've spoken before how isekai, more commonly in the past, it was a female protagonist.
Yep.
And it's just changed a little bit. Are there any, like, just on your observation, John, are there other genres that you think are very big and something we see every season?
Well, there's always high school romance animes. That's just always been a thing.
That's true. Yeah, I feel like those have always been popular. And, like, even outside of, like, high school itself is a very common setting. And I feel like right now, and who knows, thinking back on it, I don't know if slice of life was always as popular of a genre as it has been in the last, 5 years.
No, that was since,
Or 10, I guess, because I'm older than I think, but...
I think it was Lucky Star that really, catapulted slice of life, cute girls doing cute things into the forefront. And before that, there wasn't really many 4-comma style anime.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Lucky Star was the big popularizer. The only other early one that I can think of, technically by maybe like 3 to 4 years, maybe 2 to 3, was Azumanga Daioh also was around then.
Yeah.
But I think you're right, that I think like Lucky Star was really like the marker that started it, and
probably
is also pretty much like
the Moe Boon.
The Moe Boom, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, those are, I think that like slice of life, isekai, moe stuff are very, very much at the forefront now. And I guess we said moe, but like cute girls doing cute things. Yeah, that's very much the forefront. So we both came prepared today with a couple of genres that we would love to see really come back into the anime circuit. Either come back or ones that maybe we haven't really seen much of. And to go into one that you kind of mentioned, so you mentioned that we have like high school romances, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which I agree to, but what I really miss and would love to see is shoujo, like classic shoujo manga adaptations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think as someone who was an avid reader of shoujo manga, like as a middle schooler and high schooler, I have a pretty wide exposure to a lot of like shoujo manga, and I could name maybe like 1 out of 6 that I read that has an anime adaptation. And in recent memory, I think it's even rarer that we get a very standard shoujo manga adaptation. I'm trying to think, like,
I mean, at the
recently.
moment we've got Fruits Basket, but
that's also a readaptation.
That's a readaptation. That's not a new franchise.
Yeah, and you know what? That's also kind of another genre that's coming back in, which is just bringing back classics. But I'm okay with that one. Like, I'm good with that. And you know what? My entire want for classic shoujo is brought on because of your upcoming host choice, which I will leave a mystery. But I was watching it and I was like, dang, I really miss this. Yeah, I think one of the other recent ones in memory for me was probably Kiss Him Not Me a couple years ago. That was based on a shoujo manga with a funny twist to it, but it followed a lot of the very stereotypical things. Like, let's go on dates, let's have this girl and have her be interested in stuff, and then maybe she's attached to a boy, and then it did reverse harem, which I'm also here for. And speaking of reverse harem, I think it's more common now to have reverse harem otome game adaptations rather than shoujo manga adaptations.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I could watch more otome game adaptations, but the other thing is I just feel like they are a lot more blasé compared to a lot of shoujo manga that has a lot more personality, and I kind of miss that. So I would love to see that come back. Like, give me more Kimi ni Todoke, give me more like My Little Monster, and like all those sorts of things. And there's so much shoujo manga like being circulated. So
yeah, it's like it's not like the genre of manga has died down. It's still as popular as ever, but nobody's adapting it into anime.
Yeah. So, I mean, who knows if it's really like a market demographic thing. Maybe shoujo manga readers aren't like buying as much stuff, or they find it less marketable, but like I miss it. I would love some more shoujo. So, there's one for you.
Yeah, me too.
What's one that you Yeah? Heck yeah, join me on this. What's one of the genres that you brought up?
I mean, Gundam aside, I kind of want like space sci-fi gun-toting. We called it Space Cowboys earlier. So like Cowboy Bebop, Outlaw Star, or even, I know technically Trigun isn't in space, but it's still sort of space age. But yeah, like Cowboy Bebop, Outlaw Star, Trigun, those three come to mind, and don't know anything recently that is anything like those anymore. The closest we had in recent memory was Space Dandy, and that was more like Western 60s sci-fi more than a nitty-gritty.
Than like a space western.
Yeah. Space western, space cowboys. So
space cowboy. I think that's actually a really fun one, and I think that you're right. It's interesting because those three that you mentioned, all really came out around a boom in like the 90s, I believe. They were all like right around the same time, or at least like within like maybe 10 years. And since then, outside of like Space Dandy, there really hasn't been anything. And I think it's unique enough, like, you know, it has that small enough subset to be a genre, but it's almost like untapped, you know? Because there's just those few, and there's a lot more that we could do with it. And I think especially with how intense and cool animation has come visually, it'd be really fun to get more like grand space scale sort of stories going.
Yeah.
You know, flex good CG with like spaceships, for example.
Spaceships are one of the things that can really be done really well in CG, and just like nobody's taken advantage of this.
And you'd think they would, because I feel like it's a lot harder to make convincing like CG monsters, for example, as opposed to like CG spaceships or any sort of machinery, honestly, like trains and cars and stuff like that. So I don't know why we're making a bunch of CG people, but go figure.
And not giant robots. I love me some giant robots, but like space battles, but without giant robots. Like, and
I feel like with those shows you mentioned, there's kind of the outlaw aspect as well, right?
Yeah.
Like they're traveling, they're kind of being chased after.
It's also not always like spaceship on spaceship. It is just sometimes it is down to a good old man-to-man shoot up, or even just beating the crap out of each other. Close and personal. It just even bar fights. Even I think all three of them have bar fights.
I think there's also, again, don't quote me because I haven't actually watched any of those shows yet. I will get to Cowboy Bebop. I have the DVDs. But I also feel like there's kind of the fun aspect of traveling to other planets quite often. And then seeing all the like different cultures and like how things work. And I don't watch Gundam, but I wonder is like the planet exploration is present there?
Not really. I mean,
yeah. So there you go.
They go to other colonies, but colonies are supposed to be kind of, for the most part, cookie cutter replicas of each other. They just maybe have been slightly developed differently due to who moved into those colonies, but overall, there's not like hugely different cultures amongst the colonies. They're still, it's a city in a tube in space.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I agree. I think it'd be really fun to see that. And it's been so long since I think we've really attempted that yeah, it would just be refreshing and fun and something new to see. Yeah. My next one's kind of a cheat because I feel like it was spurred on by like two currently airing shows. Kimetsu no Yaiba and Dororo, but I really want more like feudal era or like ancient Japan or like samurai setting stories, like really bad. I want to see the men slashing their swords at each other. I think it's been a long time since I've seen it, and I'm really into that like time period aesthetic, and I would like to see more of it in where we're getting so many more contemporary settings nowadays. But yeah, I'd like to go back to a bit of that. I mean, even Onihei that we reviewed, like I like the setting of Onihei a whole lot. It was really good. So that would be fun. Unlike what you mentioned with the Space Cowboys, I'm not going to say it's not overdone because it is an overdone setting, but it's been a long time. So I would like to go back to that a little bit. And I mean, you can always make it unique. Like, for example, Samurai Champloo is really fun because it's all samurai settings, but then they add this element of, like, contemporary hip-hop, which just makes it so fun. And
there's also
just
Afro
makes it,
Samurai.
An
I
Afro
still need to
Samurai!
see it, admittedly, but
Yes! I do too. Oh, man. Afro Samurai is great. Yes. From what I know of it, I haven't watched it. My dad did, and it's got like a star-studded dub too, with like Samuel L. Jackson and people in it. Yeah, so you could do that. Let's have a story about like a rogue, like a female samurai or something who
That'd
like had
be really
to masquerade
cool.
as a man and like seek vengeance or something. I'm just down for like that setting. Give me the good stuff. Or they could even go the Onihei route and adapt more classic samurai stories, because Onihei, I believe, was based on novels. There are a lot of very good works by Akira Kurosawa, who is a very famous Japanese director. He's one I learned about in my Japanese cinema courses in college. And he did a film called Yojimbo about a wandering samurai who acted as a bodyguard. And it was such a good movie. This old, like, black and white movie. I would kill to, like, see it actually animated somehow in, like, anime form.
Yeah,
that'd be fun. And, actually, again, this actually kind of ties back in. A show that you might want to watch, or maybe would be fun to check out. Did you ever see the anime adaptation of The Seven Samurai?
No, I didn't.
Or Samurai 7,
Samurai
I think
7.
is what it's
yeah,
called.
That's it. Yeah.
Yes.
No,
yes,
I didn't.
But it's
It was on my
of...
radar. It was on my radar for a long time, and I never got around to watching it.
Yeah, it's based on an Akira Kurosawa work, The Seven Samurai, but it's if I remember correctly, I think it is like a kind of futuristic world setting. So maybe that's something that would scratch our itch. Who knows?
Maybe. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I wonder if it's legal anywhere. We can explore that later. What's another one that you had thought of?
Another genre? Zombie survival.
Okay.
When ever since the teaser for Zombieland Saga first dropped, I just was like, ooh, are we getting another zombie survival? Turns out that wasn't the case. But then I was like, okay, I'm enjoying this, but now I have an urge for another zombie survival anime, like High School of the Dead or Gakko Garashi, and just want more like that, please.
That's a pretty good idea. Again, I don't think that's been overdone in a while. So again, I think there's a lot that you could garner and figure out with that. And I mean, they could even go the route that some Western like film adaptations have done with zombies, which is where they make it like almost comical or a farce. Like you have, I think it's like Shaun of the Dead,
which
yeah.
High School of the Dead also referenced on a number of occasions.
There you go. No, let's do like a full blown like comedy parody thingy with zombie survival, like Shaun of the Dead. That would be a lot of fun. And then, you had like The Walking Dead here, like, they can just, catch on to that craze. That would be a good way to draw in Western audiences as well.
Yeah.
To watch zombie stuff. Nice. Okay. My last one that I brought up that I would like to see, and again, this is more of a broad stroke, but I said I want mystery suspense.
Oh, yeah.
Really bad. Yeah. I feel like it's been a long time since I've had a very, like, kind of grim mystery story. I also say suspense because it can also be, like, kind of drama or, like, thriller. Like, basically, give me stories that I really just have to figure out, like, who done it. Like, get me on the edge of my seat and, like, really invested. And I think it's because I didn't realize how good this genre could be in anime, but then I watched Monster, and Monster is now one of my favorite shows of all time. And I'm like, God, just give me that, like, that good stuff that I get addicted to.
Yeah,
it'd be
like,
really good.
That whole whodunit or trying to figure it out and like
people chasing each other and like something that they don't know and you're just like, figure it out.
And or even not necessarily like whodunit, kind of like trying to get into someone's head, figure out why they're doing, like,
Mhm.
all according to my marvelous plan that I've been doing, and like, okay, but what
There you
is your
go.
marvelous plan? And just, it's one of the
Yeah,
reasons.
even like
It's one of the
in
reasons
that
why
case,
I
yeah,
like Code Geass so much.
like Code Geass, like Death Note also has a lot of that, like the cat and mouse. Yeah, I'm really, really down for that. I think from things that I have seen recently that started to tap into this, and I need to watch more of, was The Promised Neverland. Had a good amount of suspense to it. But like I want more cat and mouse. I want the whodunit. I want detectives. Yeah, so but I'm just saying the Lord Elmolay case files is apparently based around mysteries, so I'm really holding out hope for that show.
Yeah, let's hope that scratches our itch there.
Definitely. And then I think Craig had one that seemed promising, Kabukicho Sherlock, that got moved, but that has a direct Sherlock reference, so hopefully that will also have some mysteries to it.
Then again, there's been series somewhat recent that have referenced Sherlock and just not been
Don't
so
do
good.
anything with it. Yeah. And I'm so down for it. Like, for example, Fate Grand Order, we had an entire story arc in there that involved Moriarty and Sherlock as, of course, heroic servants. But it was really cool, and I love how sexy they made Sherlock look. It's great. And I'm just like, I'm down for this. I am so down for anime detectives. That would be a lot of fun. So we could do that. And I think there were other past ones. Another work by Naoki Urasawa, who did Monster, that did have an anime adaptation, was Master Keaton, but that was like way back in the 90s. And I should watch that. And I watched Hyoka, which has mysteries, but they are very they're very like grounded, low key, and they're basically used to forward a character story, which is fine. Like, I love Hyoka, but it didn't really scratch my mystery itch for being about people solving mysteries.
Also, my favorite 2 episodes of Haruhi Suzumiya were
oh, I think I know the one you mean, when they're at the beach.
The beach, the mansion on the secluded island, which is a straight up murder mystery.
It was so fun. Oh, it was so fun.
It was so fun. Fun fact about that, in the light novels, they get straight up drunk on the first night.
Oh my god. Are they in mystery mode at this point?
No,
I'm also down for that.
They're not in mystery mode at this point. This is before the whole thing happens. I
see.
I think it's like the night 2 nights before the mystery happens. They all get absolutely wasted on this island.
Nice.
While playing pool, awesome. I think.
See, but now you got me attracted to the idea of them drunkenly solving mysteries, and there's like a very famous series called Drunk History, where people like recall history while drunk, and I want that, but I want people trying to solve like just like board game like textbook mysteries while they're super wasted.
That could be a fun series.
That would be really funny. I would love that. All right, and then you had one more, I think. Genre.
This is also very broad strokes. I just want more like either cyberpunk or steampunk, because I like both.
Okay.
Though then again, with steampunk, we did have Princess Principal somewhat recently, and we haven't really had any cyberpunk for quite a while. So I guess, yeah, we're overdue some more cyberpunk.
For sure. Like, you say cyberpunk, and I pretty much think of like Akira, and I don't really know what else.
Ghost in the Shell is cyberpunk.
Big stupid on my head there, but yes, yeah, that's true. And then steampunk, I think Princess Principal, and there's a film called Steam Boy that I know is like very dedicated steampunk. But Honestly, I loved the aesthetic of Princess Principal a lot, and I would definitely be down for seeing more of that.
Like they're two very, very different aesthetics to each other, but they're but I just love seeing either of them, and just give me more, please.
I mean, even if you want to just keep it up with your bullshit isekai narrative that's redundant, put it in a steampunk or cyberpunk world.
Yeah,
there you go.
Don't always make it JRPG
like
fantasy
RPG.
setting, and even the same generic JRPG fantasy setting. Like have it be an isekai where they go into a world like Final Fantasy VII. Why not that?
That would be so cool. Like, I'd be down for that. And then it's like, it makes the world building aspect of isekai very refreshing as well.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, it's not the same JRPG world that we know, like, inside and out. Yeah. I get that. That'd be really cool. They could go to fucking space and be in a space western world. Like,
exactly.
If you really just want to transport your protagonist somewhere, just go to a different kind of world. One of these cool settings, okay? Like,
there's still so much that can be done with the isekai genre that people just aren't, because they're being too safe with it. And it's just making them so samey and boring.
That's a very good way to put it. It's safe. Because people know that it sells. That's what they pick, because it's safe. And I'm not a business person, so like, I'm just one of those very like humanitarian, like, give me good art over anything else. So, the unrealistic, but I think that we bring up some good points with that. Yeah. And who knows, in the next like 3 years, maybe we'll see a trend in some other genres. Maybe isekai will fade away into the shadows for a little bit.
Maybe.
Because remember harems in like 2005, 2006?
Yeah, everything is a harem, and like we still got harems here and there. I mean,
but definitely not like the classic harem, where it's like they're the 6 girls. He's in a high school. One of them's a tsundere, one of them's the childhood friend, one of them has super cancer, like one of them is like a kudere or a yandere. Like, that was like textbook stuff for a long time.
Oh, and of course he has to accidentally fall into them while they're in the bath or something stupid like that.
Of course. Oh, one of them's a lolly. I forgot that too.
One of them's
they all have like very different hairstyles, and like
you gotta tell them they're apart from each other from a single glance.
One is their sister,
or some way very closely related.
Yeah, and that was like it. I remember for a long time in high school when I first started like looking up a lot of anime independently for a good like 5 or 6 years. Like there were just so many of those being churned out all the time.
I think Love Hina kicked off that trend.
Yeah, I also do think that it was also popularized by the big 3 of Key, with Canon, Clannad, and Air a little bit. But those were exceptional ones, I think. Like I do love those shows, and I think they were very good. And I think people tried to ride that train, but not as well.
They didn't do. I mean, they didn't really do.
Yeah, they weren't traditional harems.
They didn't really do fan service, and they ended up.
Yeah, it was very much just so, and like the boy meets like 3 to 6 eccentric girls,
which is really odd when they didn't do fan service, even though they were originally porn games.
I appreciate that. I wish we had more of that. That's good stuff. That's good.
Though admittedly, they're the kind of porn games where like you could take the porn out and it's still a good game, because that's what they did.
That's very true. The stories were strong enough to stand on their own. But yeah, I mean, the point that I'm trying to get here is that, like, there was a point in time where that was it. That was, like, how big isekai are now. And it did change. And maybe somehow, we'll kind of blink and then isekais will be out of the spotlight.
Yeah, maybe. Hopefully. I mean, I like
We'll
my
see.
I like my isekais. I still watch Sword Art Online. I'm still eagerly waiting for Alicization Part 2.
Mhm.
But even I'm here, like, can we do something different, please?
And I mean, like, I even feel like Isekai May Die.
Mm.
Sword Art Online has its whole other timeline just as a franchise
Mm.
itself. Like, that will remain. Kind of like, you know, we hadn't seen steampunk for a while, but Ghost in the Shell stuck around for how many years, just like doing its own thing.
Yeah.
So, Isekai May Die. I have doubts that Sword Art Online will, or as soon. All right. Yeah, I think that was pretty good, and we're at our 30-minute mark, so if you want, we can skedaddle over into our review for today.
Sure.
All right, so today we are going to be reviewing the show Sewayaki Kitsune no Senko-san, or The Helpful Fox Senko-san, as it got translated to on Funimation. We'll be calling it Senko-san just for sake of ease. It's easier to say. So Senko-san was animated by Studio Doga Kobo. We have reviewed shows by them like Uzumaid. You may also know them for their works Gabriel Dropout, 11 Eyes, and way back when, Myself Yourself, which was one of those like dramatic harem shows that we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the synopsis for it goes, the everyday life of Nakano, a salaryman working for an exploitative company, is suddenly intruded upon by the fox, Senko-san, an 800-year-old little fox girl. Whether it be cooking, cleaning, or special service, she'll heal his exhaustion with her tender care. Very quick synopsis, it hasn't changed since then. And Doga Kobo, just to go back on our podcast, has started to be known as a little bit of a sketchy studio. They have beautiful animation most of the time. It's very crisp, it's very colorful, it's high quality, it's fun. But they, especially in Uzumaid's case, and even just going back to some other shows, they tend to kind of like to make a bit of fan service about characters that look very young. Very kind of lolicon bait. And if you were listening to the synopsis, Senko-san is 800 years old, but she looks like a little girl.
Yep.
But she's 800 years old, so you know, there's
completely legal.
Yeah, that's their out here. So I just wanted to kind of use that as a bit of a Kickstarter to talk a little bit about story. And John, if you want to recap, you had the show up for impressions, and you passed it. So what? Yeah.
Yeah. So before I discovered this was going to be actually getting an anime, random pages and chapters from this kept on popping up on some of the groups I follow on Facebook, and it really caught my attention. And I was like, this is really wholesome and cute, and I'm really enjoying this. And then, oh look, it's getting an anime, and I did not read the description and just added it to my
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I didn't read the description at all. I was like, I know this, add it to my list. And then everyone read out the synopsis to me, and it's like, that sounds worse than what I've been reading.
And you mentioned that. You said the manga is good from what you saw and not lewd.
And so I started watching it, and it is still wholesome for the most part. It just has these moments where it's Doga Combo's gonna Doga Kobo.
They're just Doga Kobo back on their bullshit.
It's like the manga does not linger on this scene anywhere near as you are. Can we please move away from these particular noises and expressions that get very suggestive, even though nothing is happening.
Yeah, that's I actually should have glanced at the manga before review, because I am very curious about tonal differences in the show to the manga.
Mm-hmm.
What I can kind of say as a broad stroke of the story, to me, it felt like a simple slice of life. I enjoyed the fact that it was relatable because it surrounds an overworked, depressed, and only slightly responsible adult, which, that's what we are.
Yep.
I do think that, why am I already forgetting his name? Nakano. I do think that Nakano is very relatable, and right off the bat, that was something that did draw me to this show. There's a lot of addressing, kind of like, how do I want to put it? I almost want to say like workplace depression. Just kind of that when you get in the grind of working your 9 to 5 and you're not treated well and you are sad every day and you're not taking care of yourself because corporate's running you dry. Like that was probably one of my favorite topics that the show covered, honestly. And because it was a slice of life, I did think the show was easy to watch. You lay back and you chill and you relax, and the show wants you to relax. I do think that as well.
Yeah, the overall message of the show is just like, take it easy, take care of yourself. Let yourself be pampered.
Yeah, honestly, I really liked it in the first episode when she's just like breaking through him, like, it's okay, like you can relax, you can be taken care of, like you worked hard, it's okay. And that was one of my favorite messages of the show. And again, to dive into kind of the workplace depression, it's represented by the fact that, like, in the beginning, you see Nakano and, like, every inconvenience that hits him on his way home is represented by, like, this clouding black dust that, like, gathers around him. And the whole point is Senko-san, who is an 800-year-old fox god, is like, they're watching over him in the fox deity world, whatever the heck it is. And she says, I'm going to go take care of him. I'm going to get rid of that. And there's a big focus in the first episode about pampering him, but for the sake of, helping him deal with his depression. Like, I really like that whole spin on the story. And I think that in the beginning, they touched on it a lot more. One of the episodes, I think it was like episode 10 or so, where she like makes little izakaya for him. They touched on that a lot, and that was probably my favorite thing story-wise that the show did. I wish they did more of that.
Yeah, like it was really present at the start. It went away pretty much the entire middle, just like you had the little glimpses of the shadowiness like fading away for every so often, and then it came back for like the last few episodes. But yeah, like you really didn't touch on it at all for that anything between that middle section.
Yeah, and I think for me that was that was kind of disappointing because I wasn't a huge fan of like basically what a bulk of the middle of the show did, which is just like fun slice of life shenanigans, which are cute, but they're like Doga Kobo cute, and in that there was so much unnecessary tail fluffing that like got out of hand, and I did this thing, in that, because I watched it in dub as well. I did this thing in certain scenes. Like, there's one where they give each other a massage, and I closed my eyes. And the things that they were saying, if you take it out of context, sounds like it's lewd, okay? Like, and, like, I have personal disagreement with people that call this show wholesome, because for me, I feel like it's made with fan service in mind, but wrapped up in like a wholesome slice of life or like an Iyashikei.
Yeah.
But I will fully say that might just be me. Like, because I know that also for you, I did want to ask, as somebody who is overworked and also finds foxes super cute, you know, did you find the show very comforting, very healing? How do you feel about the idea that people say that it's not lewd at all?
I will not say it's not lewd. It
Okay.
is lewd in its own way. It is wholesome for a Doga Kobo series.
Okay, I will take it.
Like it would be wholesome if not for Doga Kobo being Doga Kobo about it.
I did ask myself that question. I actually did. I was like, what if this was done by a different studio? Which is why, again, that I would also like to read the manga to get a sense of that. Because, yeah, like, my issue is just that there would be sweet moments, but then instantly they just did Doga Kobo. Like, for example, I think one of my biggest times that I got very frustrated is there is a scene where Nakano is in the bath, and then Senko-san walks in naked, and of course she's masked by, like, her arm and her tail. And credit to Nakano, is not ever, like, outside of fluffing, which we'll get into. Outside of his preferences for fluffy things, he's never aggressive towards Senko, which I much appreciate. But then she's just like, no, it's okay, and there's a scene where they are in the bath. They do not do anything like outwardly perverted, but there are shots. Like, there's a shot where Nakano is looking down her back, and it's a childlike naked back, and, like, looking at the base of her tail, and I'm just like, look, why did you need a bath scene? Okay? You could have done something relatively wholesome again where she helps him. She could have, like, blow-dried his hair after he came out of the shower, but you chose to do a bath scene in which they are naked in a bath together.
Yeah.
Okay? That's a choice.
I'd never finished reading the manga, so that might have actually been in the source. I don't know.
Right. But again, also, it's a question of how long has it lingered on.
How long did
it
need to linger on it as well? I'm just like... But...
So it's... Yeah. So I don't feel like this show was wholesome, but I was talking to Get, and he was saying that, everyone has their own, mileage on what certain words mean. So it didn't necessarily fall into exactly what I wanted, but it also wasn't very obtruse in its in the ways that it was lewd. At the end of the day, I would call it a slice of life. So, yeah. And then let me think on story. Did you have any other notes on story that you could think of right off the top of your head?
Just not really broad strokes, like maybe getting into specifics of episodes, but not really any need for that, to be honest.
Oh, another thing that I did like, I really liked the friendship between Shiro and Koenji, the next door neighbor.
Yeah.
So Shiro is another fox god who is young, and she's a lot more childish than Senko, because Senko's very nurturing and mature and, like, domestic and stuff, and Shiro's the opposite. She's just kind of like the sassy, spoiled child.
I think they or at least tried to establish that Senko is a god of harvests.
Oh yeah, yes,
and
yes.
I think Shiro is kind of a god of playtime.
Aw, that would not surprise me.
Or something along those lines. I don't think they ever specifically said what Shiro was. I think the implications was she's a fun god.
Yes. And so then, so we brought up Shiro. Koenji is Nakano's next door neighbor in the apartment. She is a college student, part-time manga author. I feel like she's writing doujinshi, but they never explicitly say it.
No.
Yeah. But then, anyway, so these are two side characters that we meet, and they come in frequently. And at first, they mostly utilize Shiro to try and comfort Nakano again, but like I didn't need it. I was like, he has Senko, whatever. And her personality fits with Nakano very well. And we got a couple scenes where you can tell, like, yeah, Nakano doesn't have her shit together either. She like stays up all night. She's eating instant ramen. Or Koenji, sorry, I messed up their names.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then I was like, oh, wouldn't that be fun if Shiro started hanging out with Koenji? And they tease it a little bit, like she goes through her room accidentally. She like transfers through her room, and they're just like, who are you? Okay. And then by episode like 8 or 9, it's kind of offhandedly mentioned, oh yeah, they've started hanging out. Like, that's cool. And you do get some really cute scenes of them together. But I almost wish we had like a full like dedicated episode just kind of like about
just
them because I really like their dynamic.
Yeah, that would have been really fun.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And in similar shows to this, like Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, you had like more dedicated episodes to the side characters. Like, think about Fafnir and the guy that he lives with. Like, they had their whole little half episode that made you care about them. And I cared about these characters, and I wish we did a little more with it. But
yeah,
I'm glad they were there. And then other, I think that's. Oh, okay. I'll talk about this briefly. And why, again, like, there are just elements of this show that make me uncomfortable. And it is kind of inherently tied to the narrative. There was a comment on a very popular anime forum where people were talking about their reactions to Senko-san. And somebody said, and I quote, I don't have the username, and of course I want to leave this up, like, oblivious, so... Anyway, it says, other than the lollyfox thing, Senko-san speaks to our innate desires to have someone who cares for us and who is there to take care of our home and welcome us when we return from a long day of work or school. She's like the mom you used to have who picked you up from school and had your meal ready. She's like that wife you wish you had, who would praise your day of hard work and pamper you in order to be ready for the next day. It's almost as if women like this don't exist in the modern world anymore because it, quote, enforces a patriarchal hierarchy, end quote, and women aren't satisfied with just being housewives anymore. Anyway, this first episode made me cry. It's a very nice anime to watch. I know that this is not the speed of every person that enjoys this show, but I think that this show... And again, made worse by Doga Kobo. Again, I have not read the manga. I'm sure the manga is probably better. But it attracts people with that mindset. And that bothers me a little bit. It's not something that I am fully on board for. So I always kind of had that creeping, like, this is appealing to a certain set of ideals that I am not, like, hugely for. But again, that's at, like, the most extreme level.
Yeah. I do not share those views. Hearing them, I was just like, no, please no. But I can also see how, like, this is very attractive to people with those kind of views, and just...
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, that's exactly it. I know it's not everyone's speed because I know that you enjoy the show and that's not the way that you view it. Or even so, like, enjoying the idea of being, like, pampered by someone that you care about is really sweet, but you also have the foresight that it is give and take.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, if you are okay with going into characters, I think that I would love to talk about Nakano because I think that he had a good perspective on that as well.
Yeah.
In the show. Okay. So just to go in on that then, moving towards characters, I don't find Nakano creepy while I find the show creepy, because Nakano is a very nice guy. He is always trying to keep Senko's wants in mind. Multiple times he asks, are you okay with this? Can I do this for you? So he has that sense of reciprocation.
Yeah.
And I am very happy about that. And like I said, I do find him to be slightly relatable because working sucks and living on your own sucks. And I have never slept in an office like he has, but I've definitely passed by the 7-Eleven and been like, I'm not going to eat tonight. Oh well.
That looks like it's cup ramen again, because that's all I can have the time for to feed myself with.
Exactly.
And just...
yeah, so I found him like rather endearing.
And there were times where he was in like very sexually suggestive scenes, and like someone would be like, ask me what you want, I will take care of any needs you have. Very like suggestive. And it's like, and his response would be, can I fluff your tail? And they'll be caught off guard because that's not what they were going for.
Yep. And again, this is almost really where I wish that this show had been made by a different studio, because I was uncomfortable with his like crazy need to fluff things, because Doga Kobo makes it very obviously an innuendo. And so it still bothered me, and I don't think that we needed to focus on it so much, especially when there's so much more interesting things we could talk about. Let's expand on like the stress and the depression that Nakano goes through. Let's go into his past. They did a really interesting thing, and I guess this was anime original, with like some flashback scenes in the beginning about his childhood, and there's like also a lot about his connection with his grandmother that's not really touched on, and I was really hoping we could get more about. So I wish they did more. Overall, like, for the show making me uncomfortable, it was majorly not because of Nakano, and I think he's a decent main character. I think he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
So yeah. But how about you tell the listening audience about your favorite character?
My favorite character very much was Senko-san herself, throughout the series.
Yes.
She did have moments where she did put her foot down with like, okay, no, that's a bit much. Stop that now. You've played with my tail too much.
Yes.
But she was just so loving and endearing. She had moments where it's like, clearly she's not used to being in the human world.
Oh yeah.
And especially not modern era human world.
Not technology. That episode, she freaked the fuck out when like she had all these machines on at once, and the house blew like a power fuse. She's just like terrified.
Nakano came home to find her just like cowering under the covers. She had very endearing moments that she just made me wish like I had someone to pamper me like that, but yeah, just
what I find so interesting about her character, and again, I learned what I find so interesting about her character, and what I learned a little bit about in just like perusing anime forums and things that people said, is there is a dynamic of her being kind of like I wouldn't say like a child, but like naive in certain ways. Again, like you mentioned, like with things that she's not used to, but then also she's like an old woman, like a super old woman. And it was really funny when they played with that. I watched the show in the Funimation dub, and they antiquated a lot of her speech. So she would say things like, she was talking about like the vacuum cleaner and other machines. Or no. She was talking about Nakano's alarm on a cell phone, and she's like, why won't you let me wake you up? It's a lot better than one of those dang contraptions that you have. Like, so they did put in effort to make her seem like an old woman, and I enjoyed that aspect. The dynamic itself of having like kind of both of those personality traits, like an old woman but also like a cute little girl, irks me. I wish they kind of could have just done one, because it's even weirder to kind of, like, when she says I'm his mom and his wife, I'm like, just pick one. Just pick one and let it be the old woman one, because it makes me feel less uncomfortable. So
yeah,
but I did enjoy her. Yeah, I did enjoy her. She's fun, and
not afraid to learn new
sweet.
things as well, and like she had this. There was like this cooking with Senko-san episode where it was a Western recipe, so she wasn't familiar with it, and so she took the time to learn it, specifically to cook it for Nakano, because he hinted that he wanted some. And that was a really nice and sweet episode, and made me hungry. And
yeah, that food looked so good. I agree. Yeah, actually, that was one of my favorite episodes. I actually really liked a lot of the episodes where Senko was hanging out with people that weren't Nakano, because I do enjoy her, but a lot of her attitude in episodes where she's with Nakano is very much just, hey, I'm here to, be nice and do nice things for you. And I feel like we got some good insight into her character when she was, like, hanging out with Koenji, or, like, hanging out with Koenji and Shiro, or, like, in the Fox realm. You got a bit more insight into, like, her wants and her needs and how she handles situations. Because in front of Nakano, for the most part, she puts on a face. Although it was really funny in, like, the haircut episode, where she's just like, I didn't know what I was doing, but I lied to you. Like,
I chopped off a bit too much, but it's okay, I fixed it, I put it back on again. What? Exactly.
Like, that was cute, so, yeah, I enjoyed her, but I think she's also not, like, I have my own brand of, like, beautiful anime trash boys that I love, and she's not appealing to that. So she's like, she's good, but she's not meant to appeal to me like she does probably for you and a lot of other people watching.
And I will admit, there are still, well, especially with the way Doga Kobo presented her, there are some elements to how she was portrayed that I think could be toned down a bit, or maybe are a bit more problematic. So she's not perfect.
Yeah, exactly. And then I will go into, who's really not perfect, but I love her for it, is Koenji, which is the next door neighbor. So again, just to recap, she is a college student, and initially she's introduced kind of on the side when, like, Senko and Nakano are hanging out. They'll, like, make noise, and she's just like, oh god, they're so loud. And then this all kind of culminates into her banging on the door and being like, will you shut up, please? And she sees Nakano praying. He wanted to pet her tail, but even again, I hated how that scene was done. And she is just like, she's just like, okay, I'm gonna call the cops. But they don't have to do that because she's a disaster child that can't feed herself. So Senko's like, I'm gonna give you food. And then she's also a fucking dumbass because she thinks that Senko is in cosplay of her favorite anime character. But she's like, yeah, your husband and wife, it's fine. Your wife likes to cosplay. That's cool. And she's just a chaotic dumbass, but I really enjoy her. This is also
the mother-wife comment.
Yeah, I'm his mother/wife.
And she's just like, okay, so not anything illegal, I'll accept this. Not really pay any attention to what she's actually saying.
Yeah, she's a dumbass girl. But also I enjoyed her for that because she's also kind of like a disaster like I am. Again, fun props in the Funimation dub. They make her speech very, like, otaku millennial, and in that way I'm just gonna say she says things like, there was one time she was, like, taking a picture of Senko while Senko was cosplaying, and she's just like, "Yas, queen, you slay!" And then, like, in one other scene, you had Senko, like, cleaning the house, and she's making all this noise. And then she's like, oh man, sounds like cleaning sucks. I sure know those feels. And I'm like, fuck, she's using my trash speech. Oh no, I relate to her.
Yeah,
And I don't...
that is a dub thing. That's not what she said in the subs, but I can appreciate what they were doing with the character in the dub then.
Yeah, I love it. They're just making her just a like millennial trash lord, and it's really fun. And something that Get mentioned when I was talking to him about how they kind of change Koenji's lines like that, and they antiquate Senko's lines. He did tell me it's possible they could have done something similar in the sub, but the subtitles that we're reading don't translate that across.
There is possible that we don't really get that in text, and because we're not that familiar with the Japanese language ourselves.
The subtleties, yeah, because, like, they could have even done something, like, given Koenji, like, a dialect, because I know there are things, like, how they would give, like, an Osakan dialect, or, like, talk about other ones, so maybe they did something to give her quirk, but I liked it. It added some relatability and personality to her, and she easily could have been a very, like, basic write-off character, so I like that.
Also, the, like, with, going back to Senko and the bits about her character, like, there still was, like, why do you rely on those gadgets and machines and this technology? I don't get it. They did still put all that into her into her lines in the subtitles, so...
Yeah, like, the personality was still the same. Yeah, and so that was pretty good. Yeah, so I mean, what did you think of the other fox god characters? So, like, Shiro, and then I can't remember her name, but, like, the big-titted fox lady.
Is it Sora? I'm actually blanking on her name, because she's not listed on the Mal for some reason.
I think she was Sora.
Yeah. Sora ended up being a huge question mark for me, in a number of ways, because it's like, okay, so what is your goal here? And sometimes she comes across as somewhat menacing and borderline threatening with some things she says, but other times it's like, no, she's just also helping out, and what's your deal?
Yeah.
I think in the end she is still like a kind-hearted person and cares a lot, but she cares a bit more for Senko rather than Nakano.
Yeah.
And Shiro was a fun character in the end.
Yeah. I think I was very, like, I wasn't really into Shiro when she came and she's like, no, I'm gonna, like, pamper Nakano, but I'm gonna do it differently than, like, Senko. And I was like, what's your investment here? And it's just a kind of, it felt like a very phoned in way to kind of get more, like, wish fulfillment sort of thing. Again, as soon as they kind of introduced her as a foil and, like, potentially a friend for Koenji, then I got a bit more on board with the character, because I like their interactions.
Once they started getting into Shiro and Koenji being friends and buddy with each other, that's when I really started to like her character. But when she was first introduced, she was like, okay, so what is your point? What is your purpose here?
Exactly. Yeah. So I think we have very similar feelings there. With Miss Sora, I think that you described her very well. I don't think she was, like, needed, really.
It added drama later on.
Yeah, like, honestly, they could have, like, so we know that she's Senko's boss. We easily could have seen her at the beginning when she's like, okay, Senko, you can go take care of this man. He's really depressed. And then, like, I don't feel like we needed her, like, on the beach. We definitely don't need that whole scene where she's just like, I can satisfy you. God, I hated that episode so much.
By the way, she's
but, like,
taller than Senko herself is.
Yeah, I hated all of it. Like, I was
Like,
sitting there with Get, and I was just like, why?
Like, I was under the impression that she was, in every way, a lot more physically mature than Senko-san.
Right?
Up until that scene where they reveal, oh no, they're the same height as each other. So the only difference is she has big boobs.
Exactly. And so, like, I definitely don't feel like we really needed her to intrude and introduce herself to Nakano. I think it easily could have been, you know, there is a point near the end of the show where Senko leaves, but, like, we could have still had Senko be called to leave for a little bit without really needing to emphasize Miss Sora. She could have just been like, oh, hey, Senko, I'm calling you back for a little bit. And then you could have still had the last episode work. So, like, I don't feel like the padding of having Sora in for some of the last episodes was really necessary at all. Yeah. Like, I didn't really need it.
The only thing that would have gone missing with that scenario was the ominous message of something bad might happen.
Oh, right. Yeah, they do try to play back with that. And even then, I feel like it didn't end up being enough of a big deal that, like,
it just ended up being him overthinking everything because it's such a vague message.
Something bad may happen, like a MacGuffin. It's the fucking MacGuffin in the show. Just kidding. Oh man. But yeah, so it's a relatively small cast. I think that's pretty much everybody in it almost.
The only other characters, there's only one other character that gets named, and like three other characters that have voices, and they're like his mom, his grandma, the boss, and his co-worker. And
right.
And
they are very much like to the side and vaguely mentioned.
They're like not there at all.
You know what? I think that's another thing that bothered me about, like, Senko's whole, like, motherhood thing. I'm like, he has a mom, and she clearly loves him, like...
She does exist, she just doesn't live locally. He has to get on two trains to get to her.
She's just not a mom that you can lewd, and again, putting into some bad fantasies that I'm just... again, anyway, off track. So let's talk about production then. Next, we can do that.
Sure.
So... one of the big things that, again, I very much enjoy for Doga Kobo, I do really like their polish that they tend to have on their animation. It's usually very sharp colors that are very vivid, very, like, fun character designs, good expression, good motion. I feel like the character designs in this were especially simplistic, but they made them really nice with, like, their polish. And animation is usually one reason that I will still dip my feet into a Doga Kobo show.
And they are spot on to the source material in the designs.
Oh, nice.
I will say that.
Very nice. That's good. Yeah, so then they can do adaptations of, like, various art styles. That makes sense because they also were behind, back before they found their niche, they were behind like Gekkan Shoujo Nozaki-kun, and that has a very distinct style as well that they adapted very nicely from the manga. So good on them there. I definitely feel like they always will add a little bit of, like, visual flair and polish. So that's something that I can always look forward to.
The food looks gorgeous anytime.
Oh, the food looks so good. Nice practical effects. The sparkles that they used to represent basically, like, Nakano's negativity going away was, like, really comfortable and nice, and I liked it, and made me feel comfy.
Yeah, and just, like, the, like, sort of gentle, glowy lens flares that happened every so often when he was just like, yes, this is just a nice, happy, comfy moment of just goodness going on. Yeah, that was pretty.
Yeah. So, Yeah, I mean, animation was very spot on for a Doga Kobo show, so it's a plus of the series. There's not really a lot like that I can very distinctly point out outside of that. I'll just say it's good.
Yeah.
I think the art looks good.
Yeah, it's it's not an action series, save for one scene in one episode.
And I mean, I think that their moments of high quality animation in Senko-san weren't. I regret saying this, but their high quality moments of animation weren't as high quality as Uzumade.
No.
Like, Uzumade, there were just goddamn times I was like, why
does this
so
have this kind
good?
of
Yeah, so Senko-san's a bit more laid back, but they do a nice job with what they have to work with.
I can't think of any scene where I was just like, oh god, why did you do that?
No,
yeah. Looked polished and good. But it also didn't really call for anything particularly stand out or any like Sakuga moments, so there weren't any.
I think that's true. I think very similarly for me, the soundtrack was also the same. It was like it was good for what it was, but it didn't really do anything outstanding to me. I have a lot of comments, as you've probably been able to tell, about the dub, because I watched the first couple episodes in sub, and then I switched over to the dub for most of it over on Funimation. And I do have to say that I prefer the dub. Senko-san's voice sounds cute, but not quite as, like, super young as the sub. And again, her dialogue is written to be antiquated, which I like. And along those same lines, Nakano, his speech, like, the things he says has a nice, like, casualty and sense of humor to it. He's, like, more jokey. And again, to me, he also sounds slightly less old, so it all just made me feel, like, a little bit less creeped out. So I enjoyed that. And again, they made Yasuko, like, trashy. So they did a really good job trying to play into, like, certain details. It wasn't a phoned-in dub to me. It felt like it had intention behind it, and that was good.
That's cool.
Yeah. Did you enjoy the sub?
I enjoyed the sub, though I'm really tempted to actually check out the dub now.
Oh, yeah, I can send you some clips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't that bothered. I think they did have moments where they tried to get a bit of a slightly old lady tone to Senko-san's voice, but it wasn't a constant thing, unfortunately.
Gotcha. Was there still dialogue where, like, there would be stuff in the dub where Koenji is like, oh, you know, for, like, how she looks, sometimes Senko acts like an old woman. Like, did they still have lines like that?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, I just wondered if that aspect was still played up. Okay, yeah. Which is good. It still keeps the point across, essentially.
There was the during the cooking episode, when Shiro is using her foxfire, she was like, yeah, I had Chuni moments like that where I was pretending to control the level of flames with my hands.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was good stuff. It's Foxfire! Oh, and maybe this was also in the sub, you can tell me, but I appreciated hearing it in English, is that they tried to use the word fluff as a pun, like, anywhere that they could. Nakano went to the 7-Eleven, and it was, like, Fluff Mart, and then they were playing video games, and they basically wanted to get Smash, and it was called Super Fluff Bros.
Yeah,
2.
that was that was present.
Super Fluff Bros. That's just amazing. So I liked that too in production. That was cute. I liked both the opening and ending a lot.
I enjoyed them as well. They were very, very cute. The opening is a
was
bit
really
of
catchy.
Yep, opening is a bit of an earworm. I keep on catching myself going, shibbity muff muffu.
Oh, nice.
One more shibbity muff
I always hear the part where I think it's like leading into the chorus, but you know that little clip where Senko is singing it and she's like moving her finger like she's kind of conducting the tune?
Yeah.
I always hear that part and think about it and I'm just like na 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 na. Like I don't know the words,
No.
but I will also sing along. It's very cute and I like the visual with like all the tails and the washing machines and then they're like spinning in the washing machines for no reason. It's cute. And the ending is also cute. I think I liked the opening a little more, but I did get into the ending too.
I agree. I like the opening more than the ending, but the ending's still really cute.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, did you watch the Super Senko times each episode?
I did.
Okay. I watched up to maybe like episode 5 or 6, and then the only reason I didn't continue was primarily just because I had to get through the show, and it was a busy week. I think my favorite Super Senko time was the one where she went grocery shopping, and then, like, 3 people just, like, give her free samples, and she's just like, oh my gosh, this is so good, grocery shopping is the best, because it was, like, super cute, and, like, the entire appeal of Super Senko time is, like, adding into that wish fulfillment bit for people, you know, because it's like you get to be there.
It's done first person. So you
but that one was cute because it wasn't just Senko talking to you, it was, like, Senko experiencing something, and I liked that.
Yeah, I definitely think that was my favorite one as well.
Nice.
A lot of them kind of also just recapped things.
That too, yeah, they just talk about the topic of the episode.
Just this time from first person. Although there was a couple that were actually Shiro or Sora. Like Senko wasn't present.
Oh yeah, I saw one with Sora in it. Yeah. Near the end. That was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like production wise, I mean I think that's about it for me. What about you?
Yeah, like the Super Senko things were cute and fun, but not overly needed to be honest, but
okay, if you are comfortable with it, do you want to roll right on into ratings?
Sure.
Okay, you get to go last because you passed this show, so I will go ahead and leave that to you. I'm very on the fence between 2 ratings. So this is going to be one of my 0.5 ratings where it's like, you know, it just kind of, it's either a very light or whatever. Like I'm stuck between giving this show a check it or a skip it because I don't think in execution it is like that bad. There are good things that it does. It's just more that there are a lot of like sensibilities behind it. It's the fact that I know that Doga Kobo made it a certain way. And I know the way that some people take it that just really does not sit with me, and I can just like think of so many other shows that I wish got as much watching as Senko-san did for like this sort of healing thing. But again, different mileage, and I can respect different opinions on you know, shows, because art and media are subjective. That's really what it comes down to. And so I think while there were things that I really did not like that I got out of watching this show, with enough respect to other people's opinions, and especially because not everybody's opinions are as terrible as others that I have mentioned, I'll go ahead and give this a light check it. I do think that there are things that I would like to see skipped over it, but it's also not like horrendously bad. Does that make sense? You know, like I was all right with it. I wish that it executed a lot better on certain aspects, the way that the narrative was handled, certain character interactions. But I will also maybe check out a little bit of the manga and see what my speed is there. And I would also recommend, if you're interested in checking the show out, give both a try. Definitely also try to read the manga and then check out the anime if it gives you what you want. So, yeah, we'll go with the check it. That's fine. And then I will also give the recommendation today. I actually wanted to take this time to mention a very, like, not really heard of anime that my friend Mandy over at the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast recommended to me. It is called Hora Mimi ga I'm gonna murder this. Mieteru yo, or also known as Hey, Your Ears Are Showing in English, and Hora Mimi for short. So this is actually a Chinese animation. It's short, so it's 5 minutes long per episode, and you can actually find all of it on YouTube if you know how to search. Hora Mimi is a good way. You can also say, Hey, Your Ears Are Showing, and a lot of people upload it onto playlists. That's how I watched the first season, which was 12 episodes, and then the second season is currently airing. It's almost done, and I've been watching it there. So it's actually pretty easy to find. But it's about a college student boy who is living on his own, and he's doing pretty well for himself. He's a little bit lonely, and he lives in a world, it's grounded reality, except there are just some people that are born as, they're just called animal ear people, and they have the ability to kind of go from being the animal that they are to being a person that has that animal's ears. So he adopts what he thinks is a kitten that was abandoned, and he finds out it is maybe a couple years younger than him, is a little cat boy. so he has this roommate that is a cat-eared boy, and they just have very sweet, like, little slice of lifey domestic escapades. Like, for example, in Senko-san, when they go grocery shopping, he's like, you need to put a trench coat on and a coat. And in Hora Mimi, he's like, we need to find you a hat. But then they had to find the right kind of hat because a baseball cap pushed down on Catboy's ears and he was sad. So they got him a knit hat, which he could have his ears show because, like, no, everyone just thought it was a cat-eared hat. Anyway, it's very sweet and very cute. And if you're really down for, I want this sort of, like, fluffy healing thing, but I also really like cute little fuzzy things and characters, then definitely give it a watch.
I think I'm gonna check that out, in all honesty.
Yo, I will watch it with you after this podcast. All right, but yes, you can go ahead, John, for your rating.
Right, so we've not had much luck with enjoying Doga Kobo series on this podcast, to be honest.
Not yet, anyway.
Not yet with the series that we've covered. I did enjoy this one on personally, but I will also see and admit that there are a lot of more problematic elements to this that really hold me back from really giving this as highly recommended as others may. Mine is also kind of a 0.5 score.
Okay.
But mine sits between check it and like it, so check it out if you are into this kind of thing. But yeah, if the slightly off-putting bits, the bits of Doga Kobo being Doga Kobo, put you off a lot, then just, okay, fair enough, drop it. I still enjoyed it, but it's not going to be for everyone. Yeah, there are problematic elements, and it does indeed attract a certain crowd with certain views, and that is a shame, but I can also see why. But yeah, okay. Check it out. Let's see what you think.
Okay, so we play the middle ground here. That's what John and I do. So, yeah, hopefully we expressed our feelings well and where we stand on that issue. And, if you're ever like, God damn it, why are you guys so passive? Just pick a side. You can send us an email like that at anniechatmail@gmail.com. And then to follow up with more of those social links, if you want to get in touch with us at Twitter, you can do so at twitter.com/AnnieChatbox. You can find us to listen at iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, SoundCloud, or YouTube. And if you are feeling charitable of sorts, you can go onto our Patreon at patreon.com/AnnieChatbox to peruse various reward tiers and see if you would like to donate. That being said, major shout out to our regular patrons, Sarah, CorpsyAnn, Carol, Suki, and Paul. And oh my god, John, do you know we have a new patron?
Dun dun dun!
Yes!
Yay!
We have a brand new patron, and I know her personally. She is amazing. Her name, she wants to go by her social media handle, which is TroubleClef, which is cute because it's a pun on TroubleClef. She's a musicals nerd, and, as a choir student, I resonate with that. I love the pun. It's awesome. And not only does she have excellent taste in music, she also is an AMV editor. She recently has come out with 2 videos that are very popular. One is to Your Name. It's actually probably my favorite Your Name video to date. And she also did a Bloom Into You video that won Best Concept at Anime Boston's contest this year. So I will go ahead and drop her YouTube channel in the description. You can also find her at Twitter under the same handle. That's Trouble, TROUBLE, Clef, CLEF, at twitter.com. She's got great anime and meme tastes. You should check her out. We love you so much. Thank you so much for joining our ranks. Oh my god!
Yeah.
Yes. So much love to you, and thanks again. All right, and before we do head out here, there is also Save Our Progress. If you do not know who Save Our Progress is, they are a batch of very good, excellent boys. I guess they'd like to be called young men, but I think they're good boys, including our very own co-host Gregory, who is not here tonight. And Gregory talks with Zach, Pete, and Paul, and occasional guests, often on their general lifestyle, media, nerd-based podcast called Save Our Progress. You can check them out at soundcloud.com/saveourprogress. Tune in for monthly anime movie nights, where they have often any of us over here at Annie Chatbox on as guest hosts. They recently reviewed Ghost in the Shell, the original film. So you should definitely go check them out. And speaking of checking out, I think that's what Jonathan Joestar and I are going to go ahead and do.
Yep.
So this is us signing off. Thank you again for tuning in to episode 116 of the Annie Chatbox. Stay tuned for seasonal summer picks upcoming. All right. Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Muff.